Hello, friends, and welcome to Bible study. We are in the NIV, 2 Corinthians, chapter 10. We're going to be doing verses 1 through 18, which is really all of chapter 10. This was written by the Apostle Paul in about 60-ish AD. Paul's defense of his ministry is what this chapter is really called, because it's all one parable. So chapter 10, verse 1. By the meekness and the gentleness of Christ I appeal to you. I, Paul, who am timid when face to face with you. And now he put timid when face to face with you, but bold when away. I beg you that when I come, I may not have to be as bold as I expect to be towards some people who think that we live by the standards of this world. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. Very true. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have the divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So we're not roaming around in the world trying to wound more people and trying to play a game of one-upmanship, or you have to be less for me to be more. That is a fallacy. If you wanted to think of it, and it is like there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So you get the Holy Trinity, right? And then there's everybody else in the world. Because everybody else is a human and therefore flawed by nature. No matter what they do, they're flawed. And there's things that you're just not going to be able to do. Anybody who's in a body is subject to being wrong. And that's really the beginning and the end of it. So verse 6. And we will be ready to punish every act of disobedience once your obedience is complete. You are looking only on the surface of things. And that has a subnote there of 8A. Or look at the obvious facts. So, all right, you're not being in depth. You're not looking at the energy underneath. If anyone is confident that he belongs to Christ, he should consider again that we belong to Christ just as much as he. Oh, that's a big thing. People can get into, be devout like me, and then start being like, oh, well, this makes me better than you. No. God loves everybody, and he loves everybody the same. No matter how you're acting or I'm acting in any one moment, he loves you anyway. So trying to come through and try to pretend like you are more loved or less loved, it's you're not more holy or more special to God than other people, and no one is more holy or more special to God than you. And if you're roaming around trying to find a way to make yourself better than everybody around you, like, oh, I don't have to deign to interact with, because don't you know that you're on the wrong track already. For even if I boast somewhat freely about the authority the Lord gave us for building you up rather than pulling you down, I will not be ashamed of it. Your job is to boast up and build up and put confidence in, truthful confidence, by traits they actually have, not traits you want to pretend like they have, to build someone up so that they want to be the better version of themselves. If you're trying to tear them down, you are in the wrong mindset. He said, love one another. I do not want it to seem to be trying to frighten you with my letters. For some say his letters are weighty and forceful, but in person he is unimpressive, and his speaking amounts to nothing. Such people should realize that what we are in our letters, when we are absent, we will be in our actions when we are present. So genuine is part of the gig. You have to live this way. If you're going to be a minister of the faith or a preacher or priest, if you're going to do any of those types of jobs, if you're going to be a religious officiant, you have to live the word. So what he said you have to do, you have to be showing everybody else how you physically live that out in life by being the living, breathing example of these traits or these emotions or these daily rituals or whatever it is that you feel puts you, in with Christ, makes you feel closer to Christ. Now, people don't have to do exactly what you do. They need to be following, looking at the example of what you do and then finding something like that or something of that nature, whether the elements of it stay the same or not, doesn't matter, that puts them in the right mental, emotional state to interact with this world in a way that does not make them act like they're possessed by a demon or deeply wounded and traumatized, or because mostly people aren't interacting with demons. Mostly they're demons, they're inner demons. They're their thoughts, their feelings, their woundings, their trappings, their I have to measure up to this or act like that or be this way, instead of honestly being who they are and in their heart wanting to do the right thing. He can read your intentions. Your lip service is useless. Live it if you want him to look at you in some other different way. Show him. It's called amends. Show him you mean it. Penance exists for the purpose of showing him that you feel guilty about acting poorly and willing to make amends, and then he expects you to not do that thing that you're not supposed to do. Don't be bitter, be better, is the phrase we like to use these days. Verse 12. We do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with someone who commended themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. If you're living in an echo chamber and there's no room in there for the fact that you might be wrong, that's what an echo chamber is. If you are looking at everybody in the world and you're like, everybody who doesn't agree with this statement is just wrong in every way and there's no way any other way can be, sorry, you're letting the devil in. Your job, my job, everybody's job is to be teachable. He's teaching the lessons and we're absorbing them like the children we are. Because to him, we'll forever be children. We act like children. Every time we don't get somebody to say what we want them to say so we can get that confirmation bias, that echo chamber, echo back to us, and they can't have a different life experience or have a different relationship with that person or have a different this, have a different that, blah, 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 blah. Your limitations on their life because your woundings. You're already in the wrong place. We're acting like children having temper tantrums when we can't accept that people have different realities than we do, or have had different life experiences than us, and that their feelings are valid, and that they're also children in Christ, and that God could also love them, and etc., etc. So if you're in an echo chamber, of course everybody around you seems amazing, and everybody around you seems awful. If you can't handle the idea that this and that could be true, that your experience in reality is valid and their experience in reality is also valid, even if it's different than yours, then you're already off track. Verse 13. We, however, will not boast beyond proper limits. It's okay to feel proud of yourself. It's a problem if you need everybody to admire you. Those are two different things. But we will confine our boasting to the field God has assigned to us, a field that reaches even to you. We are not going too far in our boasting, as would be the case if we had not come to you. We did not get as far as you with the gospel. For we did get as far as you with the gospel. So obviously we're doing something that works because the gospel keeps spreading. Whether you like our methods or not, it works because it does create change in some people. Because that's when the gospel has hit you and it's hit you here and you're cultivating your immaculate heart, you no longer want to move in the world from your woundings. Somebody did that to me and it felt crappy. So I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to hurt them because they didn't deserve that. They don't deserve my attitude, my snarkiness, my problems. They don't deserve my woundings. They don't deserve to be screamed at. They don't deserve to be dominated and controlled. They don't deserve to get told that they can't have a reality, a perception, or a feeling that I didn't pre-approve for them. If you're in that state of where you want to do any of those things, if you're trying to control another person's life in some fashion when you are both grown adults, you're already off track. So neither do we go beyond our limits by boasting of the work done by others. That's B. Or instead of neither or. Do we go beyond our limits by boasting the work done by others. Our hope is that as your faith continues to grow, our area of activity among you will greatly expand. I.e., we want to establish a faith base here so we can continue to expand the ministry to other continents to bring the gospel of Jesus to them. And every single group of area of where we can establish a church and convert people to faith, we continue to anchor the light. And you guys become examples of how to display the faith to other people around you. Congratulations. You are now a role model. Here's a reality, though. If you're an adult roaming about the world and there are children anywhere at all in existence that can be watching what your behavior is in that moment, you are a role model, and you should not act any way that you would not want your child or a child to behave like as well. If it would be unacceptable for them to grow up and do this thing, then it is unacceptable for you as a grown-up to do it now. That's really just basically how it works. So that we can preach the gospel in the regions beyond you. For we do not want to boast about work already done in another man's territory. Yes, we can say it's beautiful work for this person or that person. They are amazing. They are also an apostle. They're also a disciple. They got stuff done. Look at all this good work the church is doing together, because together on a common purpose, we can be a force of nature that brings light and love to the world. We can do more together. And it's a concept that in today's world we're very familiar with. We can liken it to I stood on the shoulders of giants. Every person that came before us had something to do. If you're thinking of it in a sports term, and we're Americans, so we'll use American football. If you're thinking about it, I liked it too, like my favorite position on, because I love football. My favorite position on the football field, my favorite player is the running back. Always the running back, because you give them the ball and they get, you can give it to them and they can do it. If they're fast, it depends on what kind of running back they are. If they're fast, they can also act like they're a wide receiver. They can be your blocker. They can do different things. Now you have different types of running backs on the team for different things that they got to do. But a running back is your 10 toes down, give me the ball, captain, and watch me plow through these people. It's also part of their job to be able to see a field of vision, to find the hole to get in order to move past the other people, in order to get in there and really, take off down the field. So they have to be able to run fast. They also have to be able to have good field of vision, and they also have to be able to put 10 toes down and plow through a line. Because that's what you expect if you're on a team, a running back, to do. So They want to boast about, did you see what they did? Just like your running back can be proud of that throw that the quarterback did, or how the wide receiver caught that ball out of nowhere, or how really, oh my God, kicker, you hit that. Every job has got people that you're working in conjunction with, and when you care about those people and you're all trying to do the same good work, you praise them for their work, but you can't claim their work as your work. It's not enough that your church is doing this thing if you're a minister in the church. It's, what are you doing? We're supposed to have our head down, doing the work, not just talking about the work that other people are doing. Yes, we talk about it, but we also talk about our work, because we can use that energy, that positive momentum, So you want to get that power, that positive momentum and that everything going forward so that you can continue to anchor the light. We should celebrate the work of the people around us that are good at what they're doing, because they're on their divine purpose, and every person that they help, everything that they do. You got to be your own hype man, and you got to be their hype man, but you got to mean it. It's got to be real. You got to be doing the work. You got to have the passion for it moving forward. So he's like, yeah, we want to, talk about you. We want to praise you publicly because you become that example. We want to be excited about what our coworkers are doing, but we also want to expand from you. So what happens there matters, because you matter. Your actions matter. You're part of a group, whether you're working or not working. You have some kind of friends network, family network, something. And if you don't, you should get out in there and get some. Just, you need to be there for them, and they need to be there for you. In that network, in that group, who you are matters. What you do matters. What you don't do matters. How you treat people in the world matter. You matter. And so does everyone else in the world. We're all entitled to exactly the same things. So we have to remember that when we're interacting with each other. Verse 17. But let him who boasts boast in the Lord. Look how amazing the Lord is. Look at what he brought to the people that I love. Look how amazing he is. Look at the blessings he brings you. There's a footnote here of C. Oh, goodness. Where is... There we go. Neither do we boast about things that cannot be measured in regard to work done by others. That's Jeremiah, chapter 9, verse 24. He's one of the major prophets. Major prophets are decided as major for the volume of material that they produced. How many prophecies? Because prophets prophesize, because that's the way that works. Verse 18. For it is not the one who commends himself who is approved, but the one whom the Lord commends. You can't run out and go do all this, be this preacher, this minister, this whatever it is, because you think it makes you look good. People can tell. We can always tell. Like, we can tell when a salesman doesn't believe the product they're selling and it's just a job they're doing. We can see the people who are unhappy with their work, and they're going to be difficult when you interact with them. You can't do that. Being genuine is part of the gig. You have to be passionately committed to spreading the faith, and you have to understand that means you put your head down and you do the work. And what that actually looks like is not losing your cool with other people when they are in a less healed, less better version of themselves. And you give them the grace to apologize, and then you give them the breathing room and or the opportunity, depending upon your circumstances, because everybody should have their boundaries in which you're like, nope, especially if you're not in the ministry. where you're just like, nope, you've hurt me too many times. You're going to have those. You can forgive them from afar. What that means is you got to find a way to be okay with how that fell out without trying to keep them, like, let them back in your life. So that's the way to do that. It's rough, and I'm not saying it's easy. It does mean you have to be willing to step away from the room that you're in if it's full of people who are only repeating bad patterns and habits that you don't want to repeat. Until you can get to a place where if you are around those people occasionally, you no longer want to behave the way they do. So that's part of why we have to be in this network of people, and why it's important to have coworkers that make you feel good about your work, and coworkers that you feel like you feel proud of the work that you're doing, and the work that they do, you can find a way to use that, make it even more powerful, and make everything come together. The world gets better when we're nicer to each other, not ruder to each other. If you feel the need to make somebody feel less so you can feel more, you are wounded, and I highly suggest you go get some healing, because when you stop comparing yourself to others, you will feel better about you, and you will show up in the world in a better way. And I encourage each of us to go through the world today trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be today.